I'm just a girl who blogs, who's just a podcaster, an author, who is really trying just to make your world a happier place to live. Well, if you're a loyal listener, you might have wondered why there was a gap. Well, I took a week off and went on a vacation. So, thank you for allowing me that short time to myself to recharge, refresh, and renew. So, we're here with tattoos impact your mental health. I was sleeping really deeply, cozy in my bed and my covers, when all of a sudden the door opens to my room and my friends are pulling me out of bed. And at first I feel a little, I guess, disjointed and disoriented, like we all do when we wake up. And I keep asking, where are we going? Where are we going? They don't even let me change my clothes. We get in the car, keep asking the same question, where are we going? Where are we going? It wasn't a super long ride, but I could feel the anxiety building up inside of my chest and wondering why and where are they taking me, and should I be trusting them? Is this a joke? Is this a gag? And as we pull up to a tattoo parlor, I'm wondering what the heck is going on here. And they take me out of the car and we walk into the tattoo parlor, and the tattoo artist is sitting there waiting for me. They put me in the chair and I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I don't want a tattoo. I don't want a tattoo. And yet, before I know it, the tattoo artist is placing his art on my body. And once he starts, I sit there, feeling the needle on my skin, panicking, not knowing what to do in that moment. Do I walk out? Do I leave? Do I let them finish? And before I know it, I pop up from my covers and my pillow, and I realize that this was a dream. This dream was when I was 17 years old. I am 56 years old now. I know I'm old. And that dream stuck with me my entire life. And maybe you've had dreams that have stuck with you your entire life. Well, this is one. And why, I really don't know. Whenever people would ask me, would you get a tattoo? I'm like, listen, I had this dream when I was a kid, 17, teenager. And that was basically the red flag telling me, you're never getting a tattoo. And so it just kind of stuck with me. And in my religion, according to the Hebrew Bible, no Jewish person is supposed to get a tattoo. And if you get a tattoo, you can't be buried in a Jewish cemetery. So that was implanted in my brain. Let's talk a little bit about the history of tattoos first. Scientists and archaeologists are able to figure out that it goes all the way to 3300 BCE. And they found these markings on mummified bodies. They date tattoos back, the very first one they found was in Japan, but obviously in Egypt and Greek and Roman and Norway and Native Americans. They found tattoo art on mummified bodies, or as time moved on, they could see it in drawings that they would place on the wall, that their bodies would have designs on it. And some of these mummified bodies, when research was done, weren't exactly pictures. They think that the tattooing art derived from injuries, that an individual would get an injury and they would put like clay or dark mud dirt on these injuries to heal them. And then when they healed, they left the color, the red clay, the black mud. And they would even see it in joints, almost like acupuncture, where they were in specific joint areas where they would see these markings. And so this was the earliest that they found on these mummified bodies. And then, of course, if you've seen any pictures of Greek temples, Roman temples, Egyptian pyramids, they have these carvings and they have designs on their bodies. And so this is an ancient practice, and they have ideas of how it started, but no concrete proof. And as archaeologists dig up and find more sarcophaguses, they find these markings. So tattoos have been around forever. I remember growing up that we looked differently at people who had tattoos. They tended to be those rebels, those motorcycle riders, or you would see in movies with the motorcycle gangs, and very stereotyped and not true, but that was how they were portrayed in the media and on television and the movies. And years ago, if you were to get a tattoo, you had to make sure that it couldn't be seen when you went to work. So place your tattoo somewhere that your shirt can cover it. Because many employers, if they were to see a bunch of tattoos, wouldn't hire you, believe it or not. And maybe that still exists today with some, I guess, old-fashioned thinking or the way that you were brought up, your religion. And so you would have to cover it. Now, we all know, as you're listening to this podcast, that that's evolved and that's changed. There are many people who have high-powered jobs who have tattoos. And you may see it on their fingers, on their wrists, on their forearms, on the top of their feet. They don't hide them. And that's because we've become more of an accepting society, let's say, in that arena, because somehow we're going way backwards with acceptance of differences and changes and the way people live their lives. And I'd like you to think about that for a moment and really make a cognitive mark in your brain. That when you start to see people getting rights and their freedoms taken away, stop for a moment. How would it feel if that was you? And so we take 20 steps forward with tattoos, but maybe 20 steps backwards with sexual identity. And this is history, and it goes cyclical, and these are just the way things happen, but it can be really frustrating. And I think that's, too, another reason why getting a tattoo is that rebel feeling, going a little bit against the norm, doing something different. When I was growing up, there was a couple people that I knew that wanted to get tattoos, but they literally had to hide it from their parents. I mean, they may have just turned 18 years old and they could go get it on their own, but their parents would never let them have a tattoo, and they'd have to do it secretly. I mean, my dad made it very clear to me that none of his children will ever get a tattoo. I grew up that way. I grew up with the religious belief, with my dad's rules and his beliefs. And there's another component with tattoos if you are in the Jewish faith, and it ties back to the Holocaust. And if you are not familiar, when you were brought to a concentration camp, they would tattoo a number on your forearm. And that was your number. It wasn't your name. You became a number. And a number that, if you survived, would be on you, tattooed for the rest of your life. And so, as Jewish people, that is also what a tattoo represents, and why Jewish people say, we will never let anyone tattoo us again, for what it represented in the Holocaust. So here I am, this kid growing up in this middle of the road family, politically, values and morals, and religious, knowing that tattoos are taboo, and accepting it. And that was okay. When I started to date my husband, I'll never forget, probably after a second or third date, he said, I need to ask you a question. Okay. How do you feel about tattoos? I'm like, I don't care as long as I don't have one. Well, he's like, I got two, one on each shoulder. I'm like, great, show me next time I see you. I didn't judge, I don't care. It's his body, his choice. Just said, don't ever make me get a tattoo if we stay together. And we made that deal. See, it was ingrained in me, but it didn't matter if other people had them. I didn't look any differently at them. It was just about me and my body. I came upon this quote by Charles Darwin, who, if you know, he's a famous scientist, explorer, found the Galapagos Islands where there's species of animals that exist nowhere else in the world. There's a Darwin Museum there. Well, Charles Darwin stated, there was no country in the world that did not practice tattooing or some other form of permanent body decoration. Then I started thinking about body decoration. Well, don't we all a lot of us decorate our bodies with jewelry, with the clothes we wear, the color of our hair, how we cut our hair. Some people change with contacts the colors of their eyes. I mean, we decorate our bodies on a daily basis in different ways and different forms. So this really got me thinking even more. And I remember years ago going to Las Vegas. I don't know if they still have them there. They may. And they would have these tattoo parlors inside the hotels. And the front of the store was glass. And they strategically put these tattoo chairs with the artists right in front of the window. So you could literally stand there for as long as you chose to watch this person getting a tattoo. It fascinated me. Fascinated me as, why would you want to do that? Because for me, it wasn't something I wanted to do. But yet the art and the time and wondering how painful it is and why did this person make this choice to actually get a tattoo and that particular tattoo they were getting. So I always had these ideas in my head of when I would see tattoo art going on. If you're interested in tattooing, just to learn about it a little more, I'm a reality TV addict, and so obviously I'm going to gravitate towards a reality show, but there are documentaries about tattoos and such. And so I like the show Ink Master. And it's this competition with these tattoo artists, and they're given different tasks and how well do they create these tattoos on individuals who volunteer their bodies. And so I watch that and I get even more into why people are doing certain things and why their tattoos are so important to them. So I just came back from a cruise on the Scarlet Lady Virgin Voyages. My first time on a Virgin ship. No kids, 18 and older, because I'm an empty nester now. And my kids are that age. So if I go on with them, there's no little kids, sorry folks, that are around. I've earned that point in my life. And so they are the first and only cruise line to have a tattoo parlor on their ship. Literally on their ship, called Squid Ink. Come on, guys. Squid Ink. How cool is that, right? And Virgin sails all over the world, so you can hop on a Virgin cruise, even if you're listening to me all the way in the United Kingdom or in Barcelona, Spain, and you can go to Squid Ink yourself and check it out and take a look at it. The interesting thing is, there's a whole process because you have to make an appointment to get a tattoo. And you have to get there 30 minutes after the ship leaves port because everybody starts lining up. People obviously want their tattoos later in the cruise, and some people get locked out of appointments. They only have so many. When I tell you that place was doing, while its hours were open, tattoo after tattoo after tattoo after tattoo. It blew my mind how many people wanted to get a tattoo on a cruise ship by people they don't know. A lot of people research their tattoo artists, etc. Spend time thinking of what they want to place on their body as art, decorating their body in different ways. But to people, getting a tattoo on a cruise ship is memorable. It's different. It's unique. So by now, you've probably realized I got a tattoo. Yep. The girl who was taught that the Hebrew Bible said no, that to remember the Holocaust and never again, that we should never get a tattoo, that had that bad dream that stayed with her since she was 17 years old, got a tattoo. And I guess the best way to explain it is I've evolved and I've changed. And I have to be honest, there's a little rebel in this fiery redhead, which is why my company is called Fiery Redhead, because I've got this fire and this rebel nature to me. And I was a rebel growing up as a teenager. And after being a mom and raising my kids and having this empty nest, this side of me that kind of was suppressed because I had to be a good example for my kids. And not that a tattoo is not a good example, it just wasn't something. And if you ask my kids when they've talked about, oh, we might get a tattoo, and I'm like, you're never getting a tattoo. And now they're teasing me about it because I have a tattoo. And it kind of evolved when my husband and I planned this cruise for our anniversary. And he said, let's get a tattoo. If you're going to get a tattoo, I want your first tattoo to be with me. So we stood in line and we got our appointment. And they said, you know what? It's better to get it earlier in the cruise because we can monitor and you can check on it and, all that kind of stuff. And then you give a deposit. You pick out what you want. Well, originally I was going to do a tattoo on my finger. Figured you don't see it that much there. It's like, my fingers are closed. You don't see it because I was still about the tattoo. Wanted the tattoo, but wasn't sure did I really want the tattoo. And so they tell me no finger tattoos because they fade. And then I'm like, how about on the back of my neck again where my hair would hide it? Well, then they were such perfectionists that they wanted to place it in the spot that they knew would last, excuse me, and look the best. And they're like, how about your wrist? And that's where I decided to get my tattoo. And I'll talk about the tattoo in a few minutes. The day leading up to getting my tattoo, I was very frazzled. I remember we were even in the spa and I was like feeling agitated because I was all planned to get it on my finger, but now I'm getting it on my wrist. That I can hide if I wear long sleeves, but I can't hide it if I wear short sleeves. And do I really want people? I still had these old things hanging over me, those little voices, in your head. And so I had to fight it, and finally it's my appointment. I'm going first. My husband's going after. My husband's just adding to the tattoo he already had and freshening it up, so making it a little bit bigger and adding something to it, but not getting a new fresh tattoo. So I get in this chair, and I can tell you my heart was pounding. I had this little, that little voice on your shoulder. What are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? Stop. Once he starts, you can't go back. What the hell are you doing? And I'm hearing this voice on my shoulder, and he's taking my arm and he's putting it on the padded armrest, and he's cleaning the space, and I'm going, oh my God. And I was like, I'm either going to listen to this voice that's saying, what the fuck are you doing? Or I'm going to flick it off my shoulder. And so I flicked it off my shoulder because I committed to this. And there was no way to know whether I was going to like it or not unless I did it. If I kept talking about it and getting my little fun henna tattoos to see what it's like to have a tattoo that wears off after 2 weeks, that's never really going to let me know if it's something I want to do or continue to do, or maybe get 1 or 2 more. And so I begin to feel the needle. And that's it. He started. It's it. I'm fully committed. I'm into it. It hurt like freaking hell because the wrist is a very sensitive area. And I have a high tolerance for pain. So obviously I was fine. I never had to say, can you stop? Can I take a break? Which, depending on where your body is, a lot of people do need a break for a moment. I just wanted him to get it over with. He told me it was going to take 30 minutes. And I just wanted those 30 minutes to go as fast as possible. Thank God my husband videoed it because I couldn't even look at what he was doing. I was afraid I would flinch or move and ruin it. I don't know, that dream from when I was 17 kept flashing in my head. I mean, I'm squashing that dream, right? It's over. That dream means nothing anymore to me because there's a tattoo on me. And maybe it was some weird, I don't know, foreshadowing of getting this tattoo when I was 56 years old. And when he finally wipes everything off and cleans it, he goes, we're done. And I look at it and I had this uncontrollable, I love it. I absolutely love it. Oh my God, I love it. Now, my tattoo artist's name was Johnny Rodriguez. He's from Alicante, Spain. So my tattoo artist, not only did I get a tattoo on a ship, but I got a tattoo from an artist. I believe he lives somewhere else now, but he was from Spain. He lives somewhere else in Europe. But how cool is that? And you want to know what's even more cool? If you really open your eyes up to the process, even if you just go and watch like I did for years, the artists, the tattoo artists, are perfectionists. They take it so seriously because they're leaving an everlasting mark on your body. They're altering your body for the rest of your life, unless you get laser, and even then it can't be taken away 100%. And so as you walk out of a tattoo parlor, that tattoo artist stays with you for the rest of your life. There's something kind of mystical and magical about that. This person who tattoos hundreds, thousands of people has left their mark on you. Now, what is my tattoo, you may ask? It's a Hamsa, a hand of God, with the 2 colors of blue of an evil eye in the center. It's maybe 2 inches. It's not wide. It's small. It itches a lot right now because it's still healing. It's only been a week, I guess, since I got it. And it's there. It's on me. And so I get out of the chair, my husband gets in, he gets prepared, and I start walking around to the other people who are getting tattoos. One lady's about to get a tattoo, and she's getting in her husband's handwriting, "You are loved," so that's permanently on her body forever. Well, that's kind of cool. That's totally different. That's not a picture that you choose and they place the printed thing on your hand and they trace. This was his handwriting that they would print and they would trace. And so he is permanently marked on her body. And then there was another gentleman coming to have his tattoo looked at. And I said, "Can I see your tattoo?" You could tell I was really getting into this because my husband's tattoo took over an hour. So I had a lot of time to talk, and obviously I'm a talker. So he says, "Sure." And he pulls up his shorts a little bit and he goes, I go, "Why did you get that tattoo?" "I'm a captain, a boat captain, and I love Disney." He got Steamboat Willie, the old cartoon Disney, at the wheel of the ship whistling. This was his tattoo because he was a captain of a ship and he loves Disney. Tattoo really told a story. So I asked him, why? And I told him I just got my first tattoo at my age. And he goes, let me tell you something. Listen carefully. You will become addicted. Tattoos tell your life story. And he got his tattoo looked at, and he walked away. But his words really stayed with me. And then, of course, the therapist in me, the wheels start to turn. Tattoos tell a life story. They really do. They if you look at people's bodies and ask, and I've never asked people, I might have said, if I saw Hamza, oh, that's a nice tattoo. But I never asked, why did you get that tattoo? And that's where the mental health component comes into tattoo art. And yes, I took you on a long way to get here on tattoos and the impact they have on your mental health. But I needed to share my journey with you so that you would know that I'm speaking from experience. And so I did a lot of research on mental health and tattoos and tattoo therapy. There's actually something called tattoo therapy. And you may have witnessed it, really not realizing, seeing some people's tattoo therapy. Maybe you've seen somebody who has a date tattooed on them from somebody who passed away. Or the tattoo of someone's face that looks so realistic on their bodies. And if you had asked them why, it probably could have been an answer: they've passed away, but yet they're with me every day. They're a part of me to look at, to feel them on me. And so this big epiphany in my life started to evolve in the research and thinking about it as time, and the clients that I've worked with who have had tattoos. And that's a form of grief therapy. That's a way for this person to deal with the grief, a stage of their grief, by placing this tattoo of this lifelike picture or the date, their birth date, and the day that they passed away. And so, and in this epiphany, I realized that tattoos speak a unique language to those who have tattoos. Now, some people may just get one tattoo for their whole life. And others you've seen with the sleeves, that's become a really popular thing. And the sleeves, they have so many different things. And imagine asking them, why? Why do you have that particular tattoo? Maybe you belong to a club. A lot of guy fraternities tattoo their fraternity letters on themselves. Maybe it was an experience that you went through with a group of friends and you wanted to memorialize it by you all getting the same tattoo. Maybe it was about a tough time in your life that you've overcome or you're working through, and you wanted to tattoo something that represented that. The process of getting a tattoo, we, in therapy or improving our mental health, a lot is about talking. But through art, we can heal ourselves and we can work through issues and through self-expression. And that's what tattooing is. It's a form of art therapy. It's body art. It's tattoo therapy. It's a way to express yourself in a non-verbal way. And yet, a lot of times when we work on issues and we get a little lazy and we stop working it, they start to surface. But see, the tattoo's there forever. And it's something you can look at forever. That to remind you if you're slipping back or you feel like another issue is arising that you felt that you overcame, and you have this tattoo that represents it, and you look at this tattoo and you remember why and what you did to get to that point in your life. So this form of self-expression, tattoos, are a form of healing, growth, empowerment, something you might have done Maybe you became a doctor and you wanted to tattoo the medical symbol on your body. Because think of all it took for you to become a doctor. Maybe you served in a war. Maybe you've had just some exciting experiences in life that you just want to memorialize and remember. And maybe there's things that you have conquered or dealt with or are dealing with that by placing this body decoration on you, it's a form of therapy and empowerment and a way to process and a way to deal. So you're probably wondering, okay, so she got this Hamsa on her forearm, right where Holocaust victims and survivors were tattooed with the numbers that took their names away. They became a number, and they be not again all against their will were tattooed. The Hebrew Bible said we should never wear a tattoo, and they were forced to be tattooed. And so that was what I struggled with thinking about getting tattoos. And so I put the tattoo in and about the same area where the numbers were tattooed. But instead I did it with a Hamsa, the hand of Fatima, however you want to look at it, the hand of God, however you want to look at it. I call it a Hamsa, with the evil eye in the center. And so I feel that this, for me personally, tattoo, is saying I'm tattooing myself because I choose to, not against my will. And I'm not going to tattoo myself with something that represents death and the loss of freedom and being separated from your families. I'm going to tattoo myself with protection, something that will protect me for the rest of my life. And so that's what my tattoo means to me and why. Because I struggled so much with the Holocaust issue, and this was the way I could process it. And that's my story. And if I get other tattoos, I don't know, I'm going to sit with this one for a while. That's my story. So maybe next time you see a fascinating tattoo or a friend has a tattoo, ask why. Because if it is a part of their mental health and something that empowered them, or maybe the tattoo helped them work through things, them sharing that, first of all, you're understanding them better. And it's, again, that form of mental health. Even though they may have passed and this remembrance is on their body, when they share, again, it's a form of therapy for them. It's that tattoo therapy through body art. Now, I know a lot of you may never have thought in a million freaking years that a tattoo could be tied to mental health. There are so many ways out there to help you cope with your mental health issues, whether they're extreme or minor or seasonal or only come when you have triggers that happen. I mean, I live in the town of Parkland, Florida. If you remember, we had a mass shooting at our high school, and a lot of the kids who were there and their parents whose kids were there put tattoos to remember, so that throughout their lives, they never forget those 17 lives that were murdered. They survived. Survivor's guilt, right? You survived. Why did I survive and they didn't? But by putting a tattoo to remember, it reminds them of what they went through, and it shows that they will never forget those 17 victims. This is what tattoo therapy is. And I talk week after week of different ways to cope and improve and to make us feel good and happy and to live our lives more productively and to move forward and not backwards. Different ways to deal with anxiety and depression. There's so many ways. A lot of them are commonplace. But there are others that are not so commonplace or Maybe you're just not knowledgeable about them. And for me, that was tattoo therapy. Even though I'm a therapist, I'm now aware of what tattoo therapy is, its benefits, and that it is an actual way for you to be utilized as a coping mechanism. So if you've been thinking maybe you needed to go through a process like I did, maybe you want to get a tattoo now. Maybe you think, maybe not. Research it. Find a tattoo artist. Maybe go on Virgin Voyages and get a tattoo. But I would hope that you would start to look at tattoos from a different perspective. If you already have tattoos, revisit, look, think about why you got each of those tattoos. If you're somebody who looks negatively at people who have tattoos, maybe you have a little more insight into that now. That there's more to than just marking their body with this ink for the rest of their lives. And maybe you'll see a tattoo on somebody, and maybe you'll ask them, what does that tattoo represent or mean? What is it? Why did you choose? And if you're dabbling in it, thinking about getting a tattoo, ask people who have tattoos. Did it hurt? Where's the best place? I'm not sure. How did you feel when you got your first tattoo? I hope that I've motivated some of you that might have been on the fence, and maybe I've motivated you to not get a tattoo, or maybe I've motivated you to go get an appointment to get a tattoo. Whatever it may be, I hope that we've expanded our knowledge. I provided you with another way to cope with life's struggles, happy, bad, sad, mean, angry, ugly, in form of getting tattoo therapy. Each week I try to motivate you in different ways, to enlighten you, to give you more mechanisms to deal with life's challenges. And well, this is a unique way to deal with life's challenges. I want to leave you with the thought that tattooing is a unique language. It literally is a language that is placed on people's bodies that by looking at it, it gives an impression, it gives a feeling, and it creates dialogue if you talk about it. So I truly believe that tattooing is a unique language. Maybe it's time for you to learn a new language. Thanks for joining me today at Wide Open Spaces with Elise. Remember, positive thoughts always create positive energy. Go out and explore all those wide open spaces in your world. It may even involve a tattoo. I appreciate all of you listening and evolving with me. And until next week, my friends, ciao.